Hey, how are we, everyone? Unfortunately, I forgot to set up my lighting, so now everyone gets to watch me do that. Might that be fun and interesting content? Enjoy. Okay. All right. That's actually pretty good. One of my learnings from yesterday was so I went back and rewatched the videos. I always do. So yesterday I spent 3 hours making a video and then 3 hours watching the video. So that's 6 hours out of my day just hanging out with myself. So one of the learnings from yesterday was that I was going to stop touching the microphone because it makes a rattling sound every time I touch it. But that's okay. Here we go. Whoops. Here we go. I'm also just going to click off this video image of myself because it's a bit weird, but the lighting all looks pretty good. All right. Do we have anyone watching yet? Yes, we've got 3. Kill. I'm also going to switch to this slightly quieter keyboard. Here we go. And that way I can do some Googling live without the clicking sounds in the background there. There's one thing I want to get off the bat. It's a little bit serious. I'd like to apologize. I've come live on video today without brushing my teeth. And I know that that's a serious lapse, you know? That's the type of thing that no one should be subjected to, watching a video of a man with bad breath, with his teeth unbrushed, uncouth. What type of example is that setting for anyone watching? Like, YouTube can be accessed by anyone. Thank God for that. The upcoming youth ban. Teens won't be allowed on YouTube, and this is part of the reason why. I'm part of the problem. I'm literally part of the problem. So, to everyone out there who I've offended by my atrocious behavior of not brushing my teeth before I come onto a video live stream, I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. Now, speaking of Emperor Naruhito, no, I'm not sorry at all about. Let's do some Googling of the old Emperor. Hey, what's this one here? Do share screen. Oh, great. Here we go. Excellent. New tab. Yeah. Share. All right. Yeah, everyone can see that. Great. Okay. Whoops. Got my own rule again. Emperor Naruhito. So, to give everyone a bit of background about my relationship with the Emperor, I'm only 65 years old. Doesn't look a day over 68. So, apparently I was kind of on his radar already after I'd visited the nation of Japan, and people were like, who the fuck was that guy walking around? Because apparently walking, that's a thing. Like, it's some guy who walks. I thought everyone walked, but okay, when I do it, it gains a lot of attention. Anyway, so I was on their radar because of that, and also because of my legal action, some legal action that I may or may not have taken against a certain cafe in Melbourne. I'm not going to mention their name because my lawyers are waving their arms around me madly behind me saying, don't mention the name, because part of the settlement was that I never talk about it. But let's just say that, it's well known that I did take some legal action against a cafe in Melbourne for numerous breaches. It ended badly, and I had to take some action against them. I don't regret that because I won. Anyway, that put me on a radar. Put me on the radar of people like Emperor Naruhito. And the reason it did that is because they kind of like my main thing was like, look, I'm not bound. There's no legislation in place that says that I have to do these things. Like an employer should not have any control over what someone does in their private lives outside of the workplace. Especially in Australia, because that's the Australian way. Like if I'm working at the car wash, if the cars are clean, and then I go home and play Grand Theft Auto 5 with a pair of boxer shorts on my head and eat a lollipop, I should be allowed to do that. It's none of my fucking boss's business. Japan is very different though. Japan is kind of like, no, your employer owns you. That's why they've got like things like they've got the salarymen. Like you are owned by your company. They can dictate to you. Dictate's the key word there. They can dictate to you where you live, who your friends are, who you hang out with. They reserve the right to control every part of your existence. And so when I sued a certain cafe for trying to force me into a certain lifestyle, that's what I was fighting against. It was like, no, your boss should not be in your bedroom. That was the principle I was fighting to protect. Because what they were trying to do was set me up with someone. And I just like romantically, they're like, oh, you have to date someone who works here. And I'm like, I absolutely do not. And the reason that I was very clear, I don't want to date someone at work. The reason I don't want to date someone at work is because I don't want what I suspect you're actually trying to do is install a manager in my house. And I don't think I should have a manager in my house. My house is my house. I don't want a spy for my employer in my bedroom reporting on my activities where I can get in trouble at work if I have an extra beer or if I sit up late. I don't want that. Or if I have an opinion that may be a little bit unpopular. If I say something like, the coffee we make here, it's okay, but it's not the best, I should be allowed to say that in the safety and security of my own home. But what they were trying to do is install a spy to sort of like clamp down on that. They wanted me to date someone so that those employers would have access to me and my personal opinions, the way I dress, the way I talk in my personal home, in my home. And so I went, no, there is no legal precedent for that. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that that's legal. Nothing at all. And so I fought them. I took legal action and I won. I won the legal action because it is exactly what I said it was. That if your employer tells you, if you want to work here, you have to hang on. I worded it perfectly. I had it worded perfectly. If you want to work here, you have to have a girlfriend. Is discrimination on the basis of marital status. That's clear. That's there's very clear legislation around that. And if you want to work here, you have to date the boss's friends. That's sexual harassment. So if you go to work for Kyle Sanderlands and he says, if you want to work here, Sally, you're going to have to get it on with my mate Steve-O, that's sexual harassment. And that's basically what happened. The boss of this cafe kept trying to set me up with her employees. She's like, you're dating this guy, this chick. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Absolutely not. And it was sort of, the implication was like, well, if you want to get along here, you'll get a girlfriend. It was like, well, I shouldn't have to. No, I shouldn't have to. So anyway, I took the action and I won. And it put me on the radar of people like Emperor Naruhito and other monarchs around the world, because they sort of, in their mind, they do reserve the right to like control the individual. It's like, no, we set the cultural standards here. We set the pace. The way we kind of dictate the way someone should behave in their private lives, that's how it should be. And he wasn't alone. He wasn't the only monarch in the world to sort of react that way. And then I sort of like doubled down by going to Japan, and I just did Nick Tapscott stuff. Like I walked around and drank beers and stuff like that. I found out later that I was being I was actually being surveilled while I was in their nation. That's part of the course. Like I think the Japanese do that to a lot of foreigners who enter their country. But that's kind of why. So I was on their radar. So once I was on their radar for that, I kept popping up for other things. They're like, oh, let's keep an eye on this guy. I found out that a couple of housemates that I had were actually providing intelligence on me too, Emperor Naruhito. Like him personally, which is a bit fucked up if you ask me, and also he'd sort of like run interference campaigns against me on a couple of different things. And so when I got a little bit famous for dancing at a music festival, which is like, oh, that's right, when I wrote the CV, that put me back on his radar. He's like, this guy again, famous again for something else again. And then when I danced at a music festival, again, put me back on his radar. And so that kind of like, he's like, well, that gives me the mandate, even though I'm the sovereign of a nation that you won a war against, your nation won a war against, that gives me the mandate to run interference campaigns in your life, specifically, Nick Tapscott. And I don't quite follow the logic there. So that's sort of what was happening. And it was all like kind of innocent. It's like, I've dealt with weirdos before. I've dealt with creeps before. Like people who sort of fixate on you. It's sort of like a high school bully or like like a weird, you've probably had like a weird crush where they just get some kind of fixation on you. And then they follow you around. It's like, oh, I saw you go to Macca's on Friday night. And then they turn up there. Yeah. So anyway, that's what Emperor Naruhito was doing, but he was sending surrogates in his place. So just that on its own, like if you say that out loud, it's a bit weird and creepy, but he says it out loud. I'm sure he does. Like he must do it. It's just like, I'm going to surveil Nick Tapscott, a man who I've never met and pretty much doesn't have any bearing on my life unless I fuck with him. Just for no reason. No reason. Yeah. So that's what I'd like to talk about today a little bit. A bit more than I already am. Because then what happened? So after I got a little bit famous and I got a job, and I became a professional writer. I went from being a part-time writer and a part-time barista to a full-time writer. And I was doing okay, not Emperor Naruhito money, but I was doing okay. And then I wrote the infamous letter to Meredith. I went to the Meredith, and there was that weird Meredith that I went to where. So 2016, I went to a Meredith, and someone kind of said Sydney was shit, and I was like, well, here's my opinion on Melbourne, and I gave my very uncompromising, very loud opinion on Melbourne and what I thought of Melbourne. And needless to say, and I was like, I will admit now, I was doing like a little bit of a die pack thing. It's like, okay, so we're at Meredith. I've isolated myself from the rest of Melbourne. Let's see what happens if I mouth off at a music festival. Let's see who he reacts. Let's see where the news travels to. Let's see who kind of like comes back at me with a response. And then I'll have a better idea of who's running all these interference campaigns. Because I had no idea at this time that I was actually dealing with, among others, Naruhito, the Emperor of Japan. Because that's fucking ridiculous, right? It's a ridiculous outcome. So I mouthed off about Melbourne. That was 2016. By the end of that weekend, so that was on like the Saturday. By the end of Sunday, I was hearing whispers within earshot. It's like, oh, some guy said Melbourne was shit. It's like, how the fuck did that go around? Like, there are 30,000, I don't know, like 12,000 people at this festival. Just me mouthing off about it, like somehow is enough to, like, how many conversations would happen at a music festival, do you think? But for some reason, I have a conversation and goes viral. Yeah, so when I turned up the next year, and I kind of like, there was like a small amount of backlash. Like, obviously, my life is a bit weird anyway, because, there's always like cloak and daggers and smoke and mirrors and all that horse shit in advertising anyway. So, I turned up the next year and I was doing okay. I had like a not bad job. And I got a really weird vibe. which I wrote the letter about, and it was like really off-putting and creepy. And I was like, well, I thought that, I thought I was friends with Meredith Music Festival, but I turn up 1 minute, I'm mouthing off about Melbourne. The next minute I turn up, and it's not just like, well, that's your opinion, fine, we're mates. You like VB, I like Melbourne Bitter. Who cares? Who cares? They cared. It's like, you can't like VB, you have to like Melbourne Bitter. So I thought that was a bit weird. And again, what I didn't realize was I was actually dealing with Emperor Naruhito. He was one of the ones who was sending goons to act in his stead, to hassle me while I'm going to a music festival, which is fucking bizarre. Like, why would you bother with that? So I stopped going. I stopped going to Meredith. I didn't like it because it was like, and that was the logic behind it. It was like, why would I pay you to turn up to get hassled? Like, if I'm paying that much money, surely I'm going to have a good time. If I'm not having an amazing time, I'm not going to go. Like, if you want me to eat at your restaurant and you're charging me $100 for a main, that main better be fucking good. Because if it's a bit shit, and then if I find out that you made the main shit on purpose, no, I'm not paying to come back to your restaurant. Why would I pay you to come back to your restaurant? Doesn't make sense. So I stopped going. And then, I started getting like little jabs here and there at work, especially just around the place. And so I wrote the letter. And then that was in lockdown. And then all of a sudden, Naruhito surfaced. So the letter goes around, and a bunch of weird shit starts happening. And then one of the things that happens is that, like, Naruhito kind of surfaces, and he makes himself known to me that he's watching, and he tries to present himself as my friend. And I'm like, okay, cool. I like Japan. Like, I love Japan. When I went to Japan, I loved it. I love the culture of Japan. Everyone I met while I was in Japan was lovely. I didn't meet any jerks there. I had a great time. So I had no reason to dislike Japan or distrust Japan. I had no reason to dislike Naruhito or distrust Naruhito. Until he starts doing his fucking pictures. He starts being a little pictures of a bird, motherfucker. So I come up, and it turns out that Naruhito, in conjunction with the powers that be in the United States, partially Ford Motor Company, they're like, okay, cool. We need to have the Quad. We need to be partnered up, and Australia. The government of Australia was no better. So they're like, right, we need to form this alliance, the Quad, to counter China, because China is going to invade. Okay, we can recruit Nick Tapscott to fight for us. He's got some rumored powers of space magic. He'll be our weapon. He can fight for us. So he makes himself known that Japan and Nick Tapscott are best friends, and I was going to work with them to help fight China when they eventually invaded Australia, and I was down for that because I don't want anyone to invade Australia. If anyone invaded Australia, I'd fight them, especially New Zealand. God, Kiwis. Anyway, but yeah, what ended up happening was like, okay, so his idea of, and he's like, I'll help you. Like, we'll train you up to do things, and then I'll help you. But his idea of training was basically sending goons to walk near me while I walked around looking for fucking pictures of a bird. And I'm like, what are we actually training to do here? Or just fucking with me and making my laugh hard? So going to a cafe, there'd be a weirdo sitting next to me. It's like, that's Emperor Naruhito helping me. All the Japanese people would sort of like float around me while I went to a museum. I looked at art. That's Emperor Naruhito helping me. So I kind of maybe this relationship isn't that great, or he'd send, if I went to a nightclub and to get on the dance floor, he'd send someone to eyeball me, because apparently that's helping me by discouraging me from doing the thing that I'm famous for doing. That helps. Apparently, that's helpful to me. Ruining my career, that's helpful to me. It's a big help. So it turns out, and then when I was in jail, I realized that Emperor Naruhito was one of the ones who masterminded the plan. So his plan was this. We're going to recruit Nick Tapscott. He's going to do pictures of a bird, and we're going to train him to be an assassin, where he'll go to prison. He'll stay in jail until the time is right. We'll let him out of jail. He'll kill like 2 or 3 people, get arrested for it, go back to prison for life because he'll be prosecuted. Like he has no jurisdiction. He can't provide any kind of immunity in Australia. And then he'll die in jail. Once he's in jail, we'll murder him. And it's alleged that this is Naruhito's plan. This was Emperor Naruhito's plan for me. So this is his idea of helping me. And he legitimately thought I'd be dumb enough to fall for that. So he was one of the ones that I was fighting against when I got out of jail. It's like, fuck you, Emperor Naruhito. Because the one thing that he can't take is criticism. The other thing about the Emperor of Japan is, like, you need to understand that it's been his bloodline. So the British royal family has been in power. Like the power shifts around all the time. Like the Tudors beat out the Scots. The William the Conqueror came in and took over. There's been like several different kingdoms within. There was the Jarl of Wessex and like all of that. Several different kings have ruled England, several different bloodlines, and then someone comes in, knocks that bloodline out. Someone else takes over, like the Normans. You've got the Anglo-Saxons. The line of sovereignty has changed numerous times. Whereas in Japan, it hasn't. It hasn't changed for about 2,000 years, 2,500 years or something. So, and that's something we can like look at right now. Let's have a look. Naruhito, Emperor of Japan. That was the last one. Emperor Akihito. Education, marriage, and family. Let's see if we can find any Crown Prince. Okay, reign. Oh, look. Hey, it's our mate, Shinzo Abe. What happened to him? He's still around, right? Okay, anyway. This is interesting. Under Article 4 of the Japanese Constitution, the emperor's role is defined as entirely ceremonial and representative. Unlike most other constitutional monarchs, the emperor lacks even nominal powers related to government. He is barred from making political statements. His role is limited to performing ceremonial duties as delineated by the Constitution. And even then, he is constrained by the requirements of the Constitution and the binding advice of the Cabinet. For instance, while he formally appoints the Prime Minister, he is required to appoint the person designated by the National Diet. What the fuck is that? Interesting. It says, as a copywriter, that's weird. Like, I wouldn't call it that because it makes it sound like it's like a national eating plan. You know, it's like everyone drink Diet Coke. Okay. I wonder what part, like, I want to see the royal family of Japan. How do I find that? Imperial House of Japan. You deserve an explanation. I certainly do. I certainly do. Thank you, Wikipedia. Reigning dynasty of Japan, consisting of those members of the family reigning Emperor of Japan. The oldest continuous hereditary monarchy in the world. Traditionally dated 11th of February 660 BC. Fucking hell. And continuing up to the current Emperor Naruhito. However, scholars have agreed that there is no evidence of Jumu's existence. I don't know who that is. Wow. I mean, does it show, do you think? Does it show? Like, nuclear nations who have been nuked. No. Nuclear warfare. List of states. Oh, no, it doesn't. who have. Okay, like I know, look, I'm being condescending. We all know that the only nation in the world to be nuked is Japan. They've been nuked twice. I mean, what is okay? Emperor of Japan, end of World War II. That was Naruhito. Okay, cool. Okay. Look, he had a decent run. Early life and education. Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. As Japan's head of state, Emperor Hirohito presided over the rise of militarism in Japanese politics. See, the way they kind of tell it is he's like, I took a back seat, but did he? In 1931, he made no objection when Japan's Kwantung army staged the Mukuden incident as a pretext for the invasion of Manchuria. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Following the onset of the Second Sino-Japanese War in 1937, tensions steadily grew between Japan and the United States. Once Hirohito formally sanctioned his government's decision to go to war against US and its allies. Okay. So is that the good kind of sanction or the bad kind of sanction? It's like, I sanction this as in, I mean, because sanctions can have sort of negative connotations. So if Trump sanctions Putin, it means like a bad thing. But if you're saying, but I think in this sense, he's saying it's okay. Like Hirohito said, yeah, go for it. You want to go to war? Go for it. 1 week later, okay. So the Emperor of Japan says it's okay, and then 1 week later it happens. But he doesn't have any power, I guess. I don't know. Like, does he have power or not? Because it's like, it's like the way it's worded there. It makes it seem like the only thing standing between the World War II, and the attack on Pearl Harbor was his say so. So I don't know. I don't know. That's just the way it sounds. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room. Okay. The Pacific War began 1 week later, as well as other US and British colonies in the region. After atomic bombs, I just want to throw a bit of a shout out to EB Games as well. Electronics Boutique, if you're watching, Victor Harbour, fantastic service. Charlie from Electronics Boutique in Victor Harbour, very knowledgeable. Yeah, very knowledgeable young man. Knows a lot. Knows a lot of things. I went in there, had questions about Ghost of Tsushima, the samurai game. Had questions about Yakuza, the Yakuza game that was there on the shelf, which is actually coming out on the Switch, I think. And there's a new samurai game there too. So yeah, and he seems very knowledgeable, very, very knowledgeable about these things. So shout out Electronics Boutique, Victor Harbour. Charlie working there. Good on you, Charlie. All right. Once Hirohito formally sanctioned his government's decision, okay, I read that already. 1 week later, blah, 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 blah. After atomic bombs were dropped on Japan and the Soviet Union invaded Japanese-occupied Manchuria, okay, Hirohito called upon his country's forces to surrender in a radio broadcast. So again, they weren't surrendering, even though they were getting firebombed. Like Japan was just getting burnt to the ground, and then they got nuked. But they still didn't quit until Hirohito called upon his country's forces. So I don't know, do they have power or not? Does he have power? Because it didn't start until he said it was okay, and it didn't stop until he said it was okay. So, okay, well, look, wartime culpability remains the subject of historical debate. Okay, so it's not fact, but I mean, I'm just saying. The extent of his involvement in military decision-making and wartime culpability remain the subjects of historical debate. Okay. That's fair. Just one second, please. 1 sec. Just needed a drink. It's after 9 a.m. I can drink. No, it's not beer. It's not. It's Sunkissed zero sugar, everyone. Sunkissed zero sugar. Yeah. I mean, what am I turning into, though? Like, I haven't brushed my teeth. I'm drinking Sunkissed at 9:30 in the morning. Wow. What is this, Meredith? Ugh. Just got Ant-Man and the Wasp playing in the background there on Disney+. So, I don't know. It's unclear. It's still a little bit ambiguous. But what it does say is that the war didn't start until the Emperor said it was okay. The war didn't stop until the Emperor said it was okay. So whether or not that means he's got power over the nation of Japan, I don't know. Doesn't say. Okay. Following the surrender of Japan, Emperor Hirohito was not prosecuted for war crimes. Okay, so he's not a war criminal, according to international law, because he hasn't been convicted in any. That's fine. That's fine. At the Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal, even though the Japanese had waged war in his name. Okay, that's pretty clear. The Japanese had waged war in his name. The head of the Allied occupation of the country, Douglas MacArthur, believed that a cooperative emperor would facilitate a peaceful occupation and other US post-war objectives. MacArthur therefore excluded any evidence from the tribunal which could have incriminated Hirohito or other members of the royal family. So, wait. Does that say that there is evidence? It's just hasn't been brought before a tribunal? I wonder if that evidence is still around. I wonder if we've got that evidence. Do we have that evidence? Can I? Oh. Sorry, can you repeat that? Oh. Oh, goodness. No, it's not that type of channel. They're asking me to say, not to say if we have evidence, if we still have this evidence of war crimes committed by the Japanese royal family. But I mean, Naruhito couldn't be on the hook for that. He wouldn't have to pay reparations. You know, it'd just come out of his family's wealth. It wouldn't come out of his wealth. It'd come out of his family's wealth. So he's got his own money, obviously. He doesn't just rely on the money that the royal family has accumulated over the years. Because any wartime reparations that he would have to pay to, say, China, where they committed basically genocide. And that's a fact. Like, that's not libel. That's not slander for me to say that. Japan's war crimes in China were well documented. And, you know, if this evidence that still exists, if it still exists, that we may or may not have access to, if that was to come to light, and they were prosecuted, and the royal family of Japan was prosecuted for war crimes in China, and they were forced to pay like reparations, I don't think that would come out of Naruhito's money. It would just come out of his family's money. So he wouldn't have to pay out of any of his money that he's earned from working or, you know, being smart and doing stuff. It would just come out of the money that he's inherited, which is like, well, I don't know. That couldn't be all of his money, could it? Couldn't be 100% of his money. Yeah. Oh, anyway. That's for the lawyers, I guess. Yeah. Again, this is just on Wikipedia. Hirohito. I used the line yesterday and I liked it, so I'm going to use it again today. Something cool is just happening. Yeah, many Bothans did not die to bring me this information. This is just like, you've been watching me. Like, how long is the live stream been going for? 34 minutes. And I'm talking shit as well. So this is just 34 minutes of Googling we've done on Wikipedia, which is not, this isn't a deep dive. This isn't a secret source. This is just like on the surface. This is readily available information. It's right here. I mean, yeah. I also strongly suspect that Naruhito has a tendency to cry. Which is fine. I cry too. I tend to only cry when I'm happy, though. It's like the American Beauty crying. Like if I see a plastic bag swirling around in the wind, that makes me cry. I'm like, that's so beautiful. If I hear like Aldous Harding, makes me cry constantly. Yeah, constantly. But Naruhito, I suspect, when he cries out of sort of like fear, he's got that sickness, that sick feeling in his stomach. Because we've been through this already. We went through this when I got out of jail, and it's fucking smashed. Tweet after tweet after tweet, X-post after X-post about Emperor Naruhito, ninjas being gay and karate being gay, and I suspect that it made him cry. But which is weird because he was all like, "Oh, you need to go to jail. Jail's where you belong." I'm like, okay, well, obviously, if he's prepared to send someone to jail, their values that he respects. Oh, bit of a door slam out there. Okay. They're like the values of toughness that you learn in jail. Having to watch your back, the constant threat of violence. These are qualities in a person that he respects. Knowing how to stay staunch in the face of adversity. So, if you you'd think that if someone put a little bit of pressure on him, he would also, demonstrate those values because that's what he values. So surely he shares them. If he holds them in such high esteem, that's how he'd act as well. Like he wouldn't start crying at the first sign of danger. If someone like actually like sort of puts a little bit of focus on him personally, he wouldn't start crying because of that. Surely not. Surely not. Ninjas don't cry. Karate doesn't cry. There's no crying in karate. No matter how gay someone says you are, there's no crying. Okay. In 1946, Hirohito was pressured by the Allies into renouncing his divinity. What? No, I already knew that. I'm just fucking with you. Yeah, I already knew that. So that was one of the facts that always blew my mind about the Japanese royal family, because that was one of the conditions of their surrender. It's like they're like, you have to fucking admit that you're not a god. You're not a fucking god. And they were like, oh god damn it, this is bullshit. So I don't know. Maybe that sort of feeds into like why like rumors are going around. Nick Tapscott is something else, and then that kind of like, oh, maybe there's still like a little bit of family kind of like, but that's us. We're the divine. Maybe that's why it's sort of like he had that fixation on me personally. I never said it. Other people were saying it. And then that kind of like peaked. Oh, all right. Well, I need to latch onto this guy. Yeah. Proper sociopath. Yeah. If that's true. If that's true. I'm not saying he is a sociopath. I'm just saying that if that's true, if he latched onto me, because of some kind of like weird jealousy or something, some kind of like hereditary jealousy that he's got of his family line, thinking for thousands of years that they were divine, and then being forced after being nuked twice, and their country was burnt to a cinder, that no, you are not divine. And then that was only like 2 generations ago. So that was his grandpa Hirohito. Which so that's not very long in the grand scheme of things. Like 2 generations, it's not very long at all. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. Okay. No, it's good. I just kind of wanted to talk about the Emperor Naruhito of Japan. Ooh. But what happened to this guy again? Where was he? Who was that guy we were talking about? No, it was the one before that. No. Naruhito. Origins and name. What was that guy's name? That's right. Shinzo Abe. How's he doing? How is he these days? How's Shinzo? Her family life, education, early career. First cabinet. Oh, it's cute. Oh, there he is. Hey. Okay. I don't know. He's giving him a bit of side eye. Maybe they're best mates. Who knows? Out of office. First arrow, second arrow, fiscal policy, third arrow. A lot of writing here on a lot of writing here. Okay, defense and security policy. Abe tried to centralize security policy in the Prime Minister's office by creating the National Security Council to better coordinate national security policy and by ordering the first national security strategy in Japan's history. Based on the American body of the same name, the law to create the NSC was passed in November 2013 and began operating the following month when Abe appointed Shotaro Yashi as Japan's first national security advisor. Is it racist if I do the Japanese accent when I read the names? I don't know. Shotaro Yashi. Karate is gay. Alexa, how do you say gay in Japanese?
Gay in Japanese is 同性愛者.
Roshiansa. I don't know. I don't think I got that right, but that's okay. I've got the noise cancelling headphones on, so I can't really hear Alexa, so it's a bit redundant, but that's all right. What happened? The TV just glitched there. Let's go back to that. Keep playing. Based upon the American body of the same name. Oh, okay, so they're sort of syncing up there. All right, it's reasonable. It's reasonable to do that. You know, they're allies now. After America kicked their ass, nuked them twice. Now they're friends. It's good. In December 2013, Abe announced a 5-year plan of military expansion. Well, I didn't make it anyway. He described this as proactive pacifism. Wow. He's a PR genius. Proactive pacifism. I wonder if he got that from an American PR company. I don't know. That sounds like a George Bush line, doesn't it? Proactive pacifism. Yeah. Making Japan a more normal country. And it's literally in quotes here. Look, yeah, well, you can see that. You can see the screen. Normal country. No, Naruhito, I know you're watching now. Okay, great. How are you, little bitch? Too much school. Well, so for the record, everyone, I strongly suspect that Naruhito just said, I'm going to kill you. My response to that is, well, you would have if you could have. Why haven't you? Why aren't you? What are you going to get Charlie from fucking EB Games to come down? Oh, okay, no, the movie ended. That's all right. I'll pop over and see him. I'll just go say hi. It'll be cool. Because they've got accessories there that are good for podcasting. Oh, are you crying again? You aren't crying again, are you? What's your first name anyway, Naruhito? Naruhito. Oh, another door slam. This is like living in a haunted house. Okay, so he's sort of like Cher. He just wants to have one name. Oh, who's that? Who's the chick from Zendaya? Yeah, Zendaya, Naruhito. Yeah, cool. He just wants the one name. Prince Hiro. Not to be confused with Hero. Hiro, not Hero. It's kind of the opposite of a hero. Anyway. Proactive pacifism, that's what we're up to. With the goal of making Japan a more normal country able to defend itself. This was in reaction to PRC build-up and a decreased American influence in the region. Why did American influence decrease? Was that because they were focusing so much on the Middle East? 2013, what was happening then? I don't know. I guess that was when 2013, that was sort of after the Clintons. No, that was just before Obama. Fuck. In the same month, So this is all happening when Obama gained power, 2014. I'm just getting my President Obama. Yeah, so Obama was in 2009 to 2017. So this is when Obama was in power. Okay. So this all happened when... So Obama was in power in 2009. And then these sort of like shifts in defense policy start to sort of shift around 2013. Yeah, December 2013. So President Obama is elected in 2009. In 2013, Abe announces a 5-year plan of military expansion. Okay. Oops. State secrecy law. I actually hit that by accident. Allowing the government to designate defense and other sensitive information as special secrets that are protected from public disclosure. Prior to the passage of the SSL, incidents where... See, I'm not disclosing any secrets, by the way, because this is just Wikipedia. Prior to the passage of the SSL, incidents where espionage cases involving hostile foreign intelligence agencies were handled through use of other laws, such as the passport or SDF law. An attempt was made to pass an anti-espionage law during the administration of Yasuhiro Nakasone in 1985. Concerns... See, that sounds more racist if I read it like an Australian. If I read it like a bogan. Yasuhiro Nakasone. That sounds more like a bogan. Yasuhiro Nakasone. So which one's more racist? That's not Yasuhiro. I don't... Yeah, I'm trying to do a gay Aussie bogan. Yasuhiro Nakasone. I kind of sound like that. Oh, we caught some spiders. Oh, yes. That character from Family Guy. Concerns were raised on whether human rights will be violated and whether there is a balance between public interest and the necessity of protecting state secrets. No law was passed due to the outcry from the opposition due to the negative legacy of the... Ooh, is this? Law soldiers. Ooh, that sounds pretty bad. Interrogated suspects who might be Allied soldiers. Okay. Let's go back. Shinzo Abe. Proactive pacifism. Who else is having fun reading Wikipedia? With your old pal Nick. I'm going to put some music on in the background because, I wonder what would happen if I did this. I wonder what would happen if I can, I'm actually going to end this stream and then I'm going to say, oh, hang on. The mic's still working. I'm going to end this stream and I'm going to play it back and then we'll come back to it. So we'll do 2 lots. Yeah. So I'll end this one and I'll play it, make sure it's okay. Because otherwise I'm going to have to go through the whole fucking thing all over again. Otherwise, all right, here we go. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Okay. And